Can somebody explain to me, in terms that even I might be able to understand, what the flying fuck is going on with this country right now? Because I certainly have no idea. This is going to be a politics update here because I have not been able to wrap my head around this. I haven't been able to form a coherent thought. I'm not sure if I'm going to come across very coherently in this video, but I can't even follow it. We're going to go back a little bit, back to the end of September, when a local issue happened, and I'm going to talk about what's been going on locally, and then I'm going to talk about what has been going on nationally, because, again, this is just something. I was going to make a video when the first thing happened locally, but it's like a tiny little shit snowball kept rolling down a hill until a big gigantic pile of what the hell shit is going on. That's what we have today. Well, let's start with the local issue. Back at the end of September, you may have heard it on Fox News if you've been watching. It was also on things like The Blaze. There was an issue where a man from New York in Westchester County put up a lawn sign that said, "Protect the Second Amendment," or something about the SAFE Act. I can't remember what the exact message of the sign was. And he kept getting that sign stolen. Well, he didn't know if it got stolen. He would put it on his lawn, and he would go out there after work one day, and it would be gone. And he would do it, and he put up another one after it got stolen, and then he put up another one. Then after a while, a pattern emerged. So what he decided to do was to put up a game camera, one of those cameras that hunters use to see if there's any game going through the area. And it takes pictures when it detects movement. He hid that in a tree, and it captured a picture of the sign being taken. And who took it? Well, none other than the local police department, the Summers Police Department. But why is this an issue that would be relevant to me? Well, because it all started from New York Firearms, the fantastic forum that I keep mentioning. In fact, we posted in the thread before this issue even became an issue and became national. The two main players that were in there were John Gibson, who was by the Celt on New York Firearms, and Richard Bombardo, who is the lawyer who goes by New York Shooter. He goes by Shooter now, and people made donations from New York Firearms to buy him this game sign. So, we've kind of had an inside view from the beginning. And it is very interesting when you get the inside view of the politics, especially from a place like The Blaze, because The Blaze is one of those places, just like, I don't know, say Fox News, that has the bad distinction of people automatically discrediting it. Oh, it's on The Blaze, it must be garbage. Oh, it's on faux news, faux news. That's original, I've never heard that before. But when you actually you see the whole thing from the beginning. You were involved in this whole issue from before it was even a local issue, let alone a big national issue. You really see that, maybe some of that stuff on there on these totally obviously crazy whacked out right-wing sites might not actually be that false. Because, like I said, we knew about this issue from the beginning, and when he came on and posted that he found out that it was the cops stealing it, the forum just started blowing up right then, and then from there it got taken over to places like 4chan, and from there it got taken over to The Blaze, and then Fox News, and he was on interviews, and he was on interviews in New York City, and just it's so interesting to see it from that side. So, it's kind of given me a new respect for The Blaze, which I must admit I even wrote off before as, that's just Glenn Beck, kind of ranting and raving, he's full of himself. But, when you do see it from that side, it's kind of a different perspective. But as to the issue itself, the cops stealing the lawn sign, are you kidding me? Now, it's not one of these issues like some of the uninformed, because, when you've been involved on this, then sometimes you go around to these other forums to see people who may not have been involved on the issue as you have, and you kind of see what their thoughts are, so you can kind of get a gauge as to what people are thinking about this. And a lot of their thoughts are actually quite misdirected. You can tell when you have the inside information that it wasn't like what they said, oh, I'm sure it was just a town ordinance or this and that. The thing is, if it was a legitimate reason and it wasn't just some cop showing how much of a how power happy he can be, abusing his power. I know that's unheard of for the cops to do, but abusing his power, then he would probably notify the homeowner, say like the first time, and either remove the sign or tell the homeowner to remove the sign, write him a letter, something like that. But instead, what did he do, and what did the game camera pick up in live action shots? It picked up the cop stomping down his sign, breaking his property, and then stealing his property. It's not like it was just a matter that he could have wrote a letter about and got it resolved that way. No, he destroyed his property. And with all these people that try to defend it by saying, "Oh, well, I'm sure it was just a town ordinance," you understand that the way this was handled is similar to you parking your car on a street on a day that it's supposed to be plowed, and instead of them towing your car or asking you to move it, they set a fucking bomb in the car and then throw a Molotov cocktail in there to set the bomb and blow the thing up. And those people that are defending him saying, "Well, I'm sure it was just a town ordinance," I guess they would be okay with that too. No, you can't just destroy people's property, even if it is violating a town code. Talk to the person, and if they actually refuse after a while to take the sign, maybe. But it turned out that it was actually his property. They're going. We donated for a survey to get done. The people on New York Firearms donated so that they could get a land survey done. And then people are arguing, oh, maybe they had a right of way and this and that and stuff. It really doesn't matter to me because, again, there's no justifiable reason to bust down the sign, to have the cops come and kick down the sign like the frickin' Gestapo stomping through. There's no reason for that. Now, this was going to be the one issue that I was going to make the video on. I was going to make the video on this issue and say, hey, look what's going on in Westchester County. I am a bit behind the ball, though, because this is also the time that just everything started going wrong in this country. Just one more thing local real quick, though, if we want to talk about the SAFE Act and, the Second Amendment kind of stuff like that, it appears that a lot more people are getting arrested with SAFE Act things. Well, that's at least what the media is reporting. I'm not entirely sure that's true. It's actually not really a SAFE Act arrest so far. Well, there has been one. We'll talk about that in a second. It hasn't really been SAFE Act arrests. It's been people doing blatantly, completely illegal things anyway, and then they're tacking on the SAFE Act charge. Yet they're marketing it in the media as SAFE Act arrest. The SAFE Act saved us. When it's really like, this guy just decapitated somebody, and the cops came up, and he had 8 bullets in his magazine. So good thing we had the SAFE Act, right? That's what it's been mostly. But there has been cases where people have been getting arrested, and I don't know about charge. I'm not entirely sure which ones fell through because the DA's been dismissing a lot. The various DAs have been dismissing a lot of these completely trumped up bogus charges. But there has been cases, at least one I know because it just happened recently, where it was a SAFE Act arrest, i.e. the person had, I don't know what the gun was, but it was something that held 10 rounds, just say like my Glock 26. And crazily, in their 10-round magazine, they had 10 rounds. I know, it's almost unheard of, but you're going to have to follow my logic here for a second. They had 10 rounds in their 10-round magazine. They were pulled over, and it was one of the things where the cop asked, "Do you have any weapons in the car?" And the gentleman said, "Yes, I happen to have my carry firearm, which I have a full permit for and everything, in my glove box." And somehow that got construed as, I guess it gave the cop some sort of right to violate the Fourth Amendment, or maybe the guy consented to the search, but I doubt it considering, it's a big deal, and if he consented to it, he didn't really have much recourse. Anyway, so he checks, the cop, I guess, I don't know, he's on his period or something, he goes and he has to see the gun in the glove box, and then after seeing the gun, he has to take the magazine out and count the rounds. It sounds to me like one of those cops that, oh, please, all the cops are on your side, they totally are with you in this fight, they don't want any of the SAFE Act. It seems like he's one of those guys that might have said that, but, bullshit walks and kind of stuff like that. So he got arrested for having 10 rounds in a 10-round magazine. If you don't think that there's a big problem with this state, and I don't know, society in general right now, when you hear stuff like that, well, you must be crazy. But speaking of society in general, now, like I said, the national news. Shortly after this big sign thing happened, and by the way, the lawyer, Rich Shooter, is working with John, and they're taking that case, and they're thinking that it's going to be some sort of federal civil rights violation, or I'm not sure what the current status of the case is. It was a big deal. If you'd heard about it, I'd like to know, because it was so interesting on being on this side of it. Like I said, it started out as a small thread, New York Firearms, and it lasted a while until they found out that it was cops, then it exploded. It was interesting to see it from the beginning. So when this was going on, that's when, the little ball started rolling down the hill, and eventually ended up in a big, giant disaster as what we have going on right now. Well, what am I talking about? Obviously, nationally. Well, what else can you be talking about this time? I don't even know how I should call this. Defunding Obamacare government shutdown tyrannical disaster. Is that a good? Does that name have a nice ring to it? Well, First of all, it started out with the typical leftist media idea of, blame the Republicans. That's all they've been able to do. That's what they did. Oh, they've been blaming Bush the whole time. Now, I guess, I don't know, people don't remember who George Bush is, so now they can just go generically blaming the Republicans. So, when the Republicans decided to use their system of checks and balances and did not want to have a law that would force people to buy something that they didn't want shoved down their throat, they decided that they weren't going to play along. The response from the left to that was, the law is the law. If you don't like it, this isn't the way to change it. That's similar to the Republicans, reminding them that, hey, the Second Amendment is the law. You're not going to change it just because it's outdated. They don't seem to get both sides of the issue there. They only understand, the law is the law when it's something on their side that they don't want getting interfered with. So, the government shutdown, what a misnomer that is, and what a crock it is as well. Because you may have thought, the government shut down. That's what they want you to think. Less than, I think, 16% of the government actually shut down? Because they shut down the non-essential government jobs. Now, silly me and my libertarian self, I thought that the government was supposed to be there for essential things only. And, when we're going to shut down non-essential things, and that's going to be a big deal, it's going to be shutting down the government, that might show you that maybe the government is overreaching just a tad. When you go on the list of the things that were shut down, it's so hilarious that you would think it's a joke. The Holocaust Museum, I didn't even know that was government funded. The Coalition for Fine Arts, we're paying for this crap? But then again, I can't say that I'm surprised, but I would just think that there's a glimmer of hope out there that some people might be able to say, maybe it's not them damn dumb Tea Party Republicans. Maybe we don't need to be spending money on the, USDA Center for the Speed of Growing Grass. Maybe that might not be, but no. I realize now how far lost the sheep really are in this country. You would think that somebody like me would already know, well, with the kind of stuff they've been saying about gun control and about social policies and about foreign policies, you would think that you think I would be able to say, no, the sheep are too far lost. But there comes a time every so often that my mind is just blown with how stupid people can be. And that's what's going on now. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Okay, so the government is shut down, right? So we lose some non-essential services. If you haven't been following some sort of completely leftist media run news, even the right-wing media, because, they're going to be following it for their own reasons as well, you might not even know the government shut down because, well, nothing's really shut down. Unless you spend all your time in that coalition of the Fine Arts Museum, then you'd be really screwed. But you're probably not even going to notice the government shut down because, well, we didn't need all that crap anyway. Personally, I'd be happy if it stayed shut down. So, what is the solution to this when people aren't taking note that the government is shut down? Is it to say, well, maybe we do need to trim a little bit of the fat. We've been talking, we have a debt. We've been talking about trimming the fat. It's not like the cabinet is empty or the cupboard is empty or whatever. I mean, that would just be insane to say that the government is empty, or the government is empty, the cabinet is empty. I'm sure nobody would ever say that. But, would that, do you think that might be the thing to do? Okay, oh, well, it looks like we're still functioning fine without, such fine non-essential programs as that, so maybe we don't need them. That might be a good place to start making cuts. Oh, no, that would just be ridiculous. Instead, what you need to do is throw a big temper tantrum, and because you didn't get your way, you need to stomp your feet. Now, isn't that exactly what they were? Isn't that exactly what they accused the Republicans of doing? Like, you can't just, because you didn't get your way in the last election, shut down the government. No, you can't do that. So what we're going to do instead is, because you shut down the government, just stomp our feet because we didn't get our way. How are we going to do that, though? How are we going to stomp our feet? Well, what we're going to do, you're going to love this. What we're going to do is we're going to take unmanned memorials and unmanned parks and unmanned monuments, i.e. open-air monuments where typically there's nobody there, and you're going to love this. Here it comes. We're going to pay for people to, you got to follow this, we're going to pay for people to come and guard it to keep people out. The logic is super simple. We don't have enough money to keep unmanned monuments open, so we're going to hire people to keep you out of those monuments. I know, it's just like A to B. How do those dumb Republican Tea Party members not understand that? We're going to keep people out of unmanned monuments by spending money to keep them out. Now, let's pause that for a second. Back to what I said earlier. You would think that there might just be a glimmer of hope somewhere. Just a kernel. One unpopped popcorn kernel in the bottom of the bag that could explode. Just start anything. You would think there has to be a little glimmer telling people that they might, or getting people to realize, okay, we're out of money, so we're going to hire people to guard unmanned monuments, thereby spending way more money than we ever spent on those monuments. Now, something doesn't add up there. I'm starting to think that this might just be a temper tantrum feet stomping thing by Obama because he didn't get his way. But no! It doesn't happen. And this blew my mind. I could not believe that people could be this stupid. You gotta just drop it's all the Republicans' fault. Personally, I think the Republicans are fucking useless. How, when this egregious disaster of a president, what he's doing right now, and the disaster of Congress on both sides, John Boehner, Boehner, what are you doing? How do you not see that having the greatest priority in the country right now, keeping World War II veterans out of honoring their fallen brethren, is probably not true. It's probably not the greatest thing that you should be doing right now when we don't have any money and the government is shut down. That right there should be, I don't know, grounds for impeachment. That's what everybody likes to say, impeachment. But that should freaking have a little bit more criticism in there. We shouldn't just have fringe elements just like Cruz and Ron Paul speaking out about that. I mean, it would seem like if we did have a true two-party system, which we don't even get confused, it would seem that if you really wanted to make your stance that, you guys made a bad choice with Obama, you would think that showing that, okay, we had an unmanned monument, now we hired people with money that we don't have to guard that monument to keep those crazy World War II veterans out. Yeah, I guess we don't have any problem with the immigration reform people coming in, but that's a separate issue altogether. You would think that, ding. But again, I am amazed. Every once in a while, there's something that comes along that I'm thinking, this country really has lost its fucking mind. There is no hope for this. If you can see this foot stomping going on and somehow that's still the fault of the Republicans, I think that might be the end. Game over, man. Game over. I think that might actually be the end of well, I don't know, logic. This country, I can't even wrap my head around it. It's that insane. To say that the Republicans were the cause of this just shows how stupid you are. Well, the Republicans might have shut down the government, which of course the government's not shut down, but let's rephrase that. If the government's shut down a few of the non-essential functions of the government, and you think that they're responsible for hiring guards to keep people out of unmanned memorials, then you're fucking retarded. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And again, this is the Republicans aren't getting away scot-free here. I think the Republicans, like I said, are fucking useless because in a sane society, this would be like a tipping point here. If, as we speak, there's a demonstration going on in D.C., the fucking veterans took the barricade that they had around one of the monuments and they fucking picked it up and they took off with it. That shows you how much they respect that. Yeah, I mean, it's not all over the news because there wasn't an AR-15 involved. If there was, oh god, I'm just waiting for somebody to go in the crowd and, I don't know, fire off a few shots and then say, look, those crazy Tea Partiers shot everything up. Not that I'm saying they would plant somebody like that, but I don't know, just don't discredit anything on that view. It's just this is like the craziest thing I think I've ever seen. And then, oh look, oh, we almost forgot another big major national story, the one with the unarmed black girl that was ventilated outside of the White House. Uh, I'm still waiting for the Al Sharptons and the Obamas. If I had a kid, it would look like this unarmed girl. If you're unaware, this girl was in D.C. and apparently it's a big disaster with traffic down there anyway, which I believe because you got to keep everybody away from the king. Apparently, she's driving around a roundabout and she made a wrong turn somewhere, and then cops that were not in uniform, or the Secret Service, or one of those other alphabet soup agencies, ununiformed, I mean just like somebody on the street, came up and started pointing actual assault rifles on there, not like AR-15 assault rifles, like actual ones. And imagine that. She freaked out, and she, it turned in, I guess, a police pursuit or whatever. But the whole point of it is they shot her, they ventilated her, they killed her as she was driving away. Now, could you even imagine if a regular citizen did that? If somebody broke through this door right now, and I pulled out my gun, and they turned around, and they ran as fast as they could out the fucking door, and I followed them, and as they're about halfway through my field, and my field's like 100 yards long, as they're about halfway through that field, I fired and killed them. Do you think it'd be, well, good for you, sir, you protected yourself? I don't care if they were completely not a threat to you and running away. No, but in fact, what did they say on the media? Oh, an attack. It was a shooter in Washington. Yeah, the shooter was the frickin' SS guards that you had ventilate that unarmed person that while they were driving away. That's the only shooting that was going on, but it just seems like that's a minuscule issue now. Oh yeah, by the way, that was after the government was shut down. I guess the King's Guard wasn't shut down, but it just seems like that's a minuscule issue now compared to all this utter stupidity. I mean, is that how brainwashed these people are? When it's clearly not okay for anybody to hire people to guard unmanned memorials to keep veterans out. It's clearly not okay to do that, yet it's still the Republicans' fault. I mean, what? Oh, that has got to be I don't know, I just don't think I've ever seen anything like this. So, I just want to hear your thoughts on this issue. I want to hear, do you think the government should have been shut down in the first place, or should we, and I don't like to say we because I don't want to ever confuse myself with the Republican. It just seems to be that they seem to be have a tiny bit more sanity in this current case as opposed to the Democrats. Oh my God. But do you think that the Republicans should have used that means to defund Obamacare? Do you think they should have worked on it down the road? And do you think this is feet stomping, or do you think it's absolutely necessary to have guards there to make sure people don't get on that memorial right now? Do you think there's a legitimate need for that? I would love to hear if there was a legitimate need for that I'm just happen to be forgetting. And if another thing, if you did hear about that lawn sign issue with the cops stomping down the lawn sign, I'd like to hear where you heard it and when you heard it, because like I said, it was interesting to see the story from that side. So I thanks for watching, and man, I don't even know. Well, we'll see what happens in the current days, because with all the people actually standing up and like taking barricades and saying we're not going to deal with this anymore, who knows what's going to happen from here on out. So thanks for watching. Take it easy, guys.